He said, Jordan,
Jordan?
you and the horse.
Cool.
Shock hard, everyone. I'm Irish.
Oh.
I don't know if you could tell that. Yeah, and I'm ADHD girl.
You're-
And I'm also a thing for girls. But like, no, ADHD was something that I didn't get diagnosed till really late in the game. I got dyslexia first when I was in second class. Hit 20 something. I was like, hey, could I make a coffee brand? Like, I couldn't be the best singer. I couldn't be best dancer. I couldn't be, the best actor. But I could be the prettiest or the skinniest, or I could be like my own little niche that I could be in.
Would you say ADHD is a superpower?
Yes. Let's fix. And I'm going, no, let's not fix. Let's nurture and help them find the solutions when they need them. Well, be your own person. What you do in school and what you do in college does not matter. What matters is you become a person who you would like to spend time with, who you think is going to be successful.
Yes.
You don't have to be the next Tate McRae. You don't have to be the next Maddie, Ziegler. You can just be the best version of you doing the best that you can.
Jordan, thank you so much for coming on to the... Oh my gosh, it's like pressure.
Martin, thank you for having me.
You're welcome, Jordan.
Me and Martin met a long time ago, aka a couple of months ago.
A couple of months ago, and I think this podcast is going to be quite fascinating.
Yeah, because we're very different, but also very similar.
Very similar, and I've sort of kind of, and I've been progressing in the podcast journey.
I love that for you.
And I've sort of, I think we'll get on track. It's like been progressing in the podcast journey, and it's like I set up this podcast because it's a world I'm not really kind of familiar with, but I got to meet so many people like myself within the industry, having done kind of television attending events.
Yeah.
And that's where I met you, and I've sort of kind of got my diary with like lots of questions to ask you.
Do you remember how we met? Because I do, because I will never forget. Oh, the panic in the eyes of
the panic.
God. We were at a convention, and you came up and you said, Jordan,
you
and the horse.
I met you before that.
When?
Because what I wouldn't...
Oh, Star Trek. We met at Star Trek, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
It was
Star Trek.
It was Star Trek.
And then we met again at the con recently, and you came up to me and said, wow, you with that horse for that Barbie shoot was a slay.
It was slay or hot or fabulous.
And I went, who's this amazing man? I want to talk to him for an hour. And here we are.
And now it'd probably actually be for like an hour. And I think yes, I like that. And that was where I first met you. And I think with the podcast journey I've been on, and I think you're a very wise lady. When I have guests on who also have ADHD, it never goes to plan. It goes so fabulously off track.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm very good at keeping us kind of on track at the same time. I work as a teacher, which I mention a lot whenever I do any of these things. I do panels, and the fun game is like take a shot every time Jordan mentions she's a teacher, because I love the fact that I am one. So I'm used to wrangling a load of little ADHD children. So how can one ADHD adult be different? Do you know?
I love that. I'm actually speechless.
Thank you.
You've taken the words out of my mouth. I was going to ask you about your background of being a BBC actor.
Oh, yeah.
As a child.
Yes, the old me. Yeah, I started off kind of... So my mum runs a theatre school in Dublin.
Your mum has a theatre school?
Shock hard, everyone. I'm Irish.
Oh.
I don't know if you could tell that. Surprise.
How does one spot...
The accent.
And when you're
we're a really diverse country. Well, actually, I'm going to take that back. Diversity is very much depending on what you think. Culturally, a good mix. Like, I found that in college I had a mix of different kind of friends from different countries and stuff.
Was it Dublin you grew up?
Dublin. So I would say Dublin is a very cultural crockpot, as I like to call it. It's a crockpot of culture. However, that is very much based on my own individual experience of Dublin. Different people have different experiences. There is definitely issues with, classism and racism, and we do have problems with our kind of structure in that regards. Like, there is issues in Ireland that I'm not going to say don't exist, but I've been very fortunate and very privileged to have a very interesting kind of upbringing in Ireland, and also having travelled a lot growing up and living in different places really helped with that.
I love that.
But I just want to flag that my experience is very unique to me.
It's almost like a disclaimer before we get...
Well, it's important because I think everyone is very different. And you meet one person and they've gone through one kind of viewpoint of life. And it's very important to state that this is my viewpoint of life because I've had a crazy life.
Oh,
you know?
See, that is interesting. We've kind of almost,
Always put a little disclaimer at the beginning. Because going back to the beginning of when I was, like you said, so I worked with the BBC, so I lived up in Belfast for a chunk of time.
Yes.
But it all started because my mum ran a theatre school. So I grew up doing acting and singing and dancing. And
what
pretty
sort of
much
age
everything.
is this from?
From about three years I started dancing. I loved it. I did it because I had to. There were periods of my life where I hated it, like any kind of creative process. It can be draining.
Yes.
So I grew up doing that. And then when I was old enough to audition for things, my parents said, okay, off you go. Give it a go. And I was very much a cute little curly-haired, brunette, brown-eyed girl. And my parents were like, let's audition you to things. Let's see what you get.
You can dance.
You can dance, you can sing. Let's give it a go. So I worked in the theatre industry in Dublin for a while as a kid. Then went into the Dunnes Stores ad, Christmas 2007. You can still look it up. I still exist. Me and my brother did it together. And we used the money to go to Disneyland. And it was the most magical experience.
Which Disneyland?
Paris.
Okay. Oh,
I love Disneyland Paris, but we'll get into it later. So from there, I kind of got the bug of working. I think being in a household that was very work driven, we were a very business work first household.
Yes.
Growing up our whole life, it's been very work centric. So I kind of got that bug, and I worked with Hallmark, Universal. So I worked with them.
Yes.
For a Christmas film, and then kind of did a lot of presenting in Dublin, and then worked with the BBC on a show called Danny's Castle.
Oh, sorry, Danny's
Castle. So do you know The Dumping Ground or Tracy Beaker?
I know Tracy Beaker.
So Dani Harmer had her own series called Danny's House that went into Danny's Castle, where she inherits a castle in Ireland that has ghosts in it.
Oh!
I was one of the ghosts. It was a cast of about 6. It was the most wonderful experience and very eye-opening. Started when I was about 11 and I wrapped up when I was 14.
11 when you were 14, because I wasn't sure if I'm on it. I was trying to research it.
Yeah, it's very old.
And I wasn't sure, kind of like if you were like 6 or 7 or 8,
No.
but 11 to 14. So you're sort of your
primitive years of developing myself.
You're becoming you're a young woman.
Exactly. And being a young woman and being corseted every day and being like learning lines, having a job, like all my friends, like, what are you doing for the summer? What's your plan? And they were all going on holidays. They were going with their family down to Cork or whatever. And I was shipped off to Belfast. Which again, I would privilege life. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. It's fabulous. But
we're okay. This is a safe
it does
place.
have an effect on you as a kid.
Yes.
You know, but I loved it. I worked for years with them, 3 years. And really, really enjoyed it. And afterwards did some work with Disney. I worked with them on a couple of projects, but never really, by the time I got to the point where I was following through with it, I quit.
Okay.
I turned around at 15 and said, I'm out of here.
And that's something I found interesting talking to you, because you're kind of 11 to 14. And it seems a lot of people who I meet, who I have on this, sort of kind of 11, they have like childhood success, but then it's like almost kind of around the time 15, 16, 17, 18.
Things change.
Girlfriends, boyfriends, relationships, college, university, or some, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this something they've done so well. They've done so almost kind of that age of self-doubt develops.
Yeah, I think it's very common. So yeah, the answer is absolutely.
Okay.
It happens. For me, a lot of it was because when you turn 16, you become a legal adult working in the UK, which means your laws and your guidelines. I work with kids, so I'm very aware of the legality of working with children and on set and stuff.
You mentioned
being a teacher. Play along, little shot drinks.
I'll play with my water bottle. Yes.
So you change from being a child to a adult.
Yes.
Which means the cute factor is not as much handy. You have, the laws change, rules change, and when you're a kid, it's hard to find a really talented kid. Now there's talented kids everywhere. But when I was younger, not many parents were keen on their children being actors. They were kind of like, no, you're going to be a lawyer. So they still are today.
Shipping you off to Belfast to film in a castle.
In a castle. So you have this kind of weird, where back when I was kind of doing it, child actors were few and far between in Ireland.
Yes.
But when you got one, it was fun, and I loved doing it, and I was very good at it.
It was your passion.
Yeah, and it was something that was cool that I did, that my parents really liked and I really liked, and it was crack. Like, great crack is an Irish saying for a good time or fun. Oh. So we say it's great crack, not like the substance, but the...
Or the substance.
Or if you want it, I mean, whatever.
Whatever. We're not here to save place. Okay.
But you become an adult, so you walk into a room where back in the day there was kids of all different kinds and all different looks, all auditioning for the one role. You walk into a room where there's like 20 of the same person. I sat down in a
So when you're 16, that it's almost kind of chilled. You become an adult, so you can do what you want.
So a lot of the time, up until the point when you're a child, you're competing, like the oldest you'll compete against for a role when you're 11 is someone who's 12.
Yes.
So the pool is a lot smaller, where once you turn 16, you're anyone's game, and you suddenly realize you're not as unique or you're not as special. And the world, no gets said a lot, not this time, sorry, and rejection happens. And I very much had a thick skin, but because I didn't love it as much as I think I should have.
And you're getting told, I take it you got...
No, all the time.
You got told no.
A lot.
And it can be quite
hard on your soul. So
yes.
I found, for me anyway, that was my natural thought process was, do I want to stay in an industry that will reject me, will carbon copy me? But if you love it, like I went to high school in Boston, I messengered it as well. I did, my summers were from Belfast to Boston's.
Yes.
And the one thing one of our lecturers said, our professors said, if you could see yourself doing anything else but theatre or acting, do that other thing. Because you have to only be able to see yourself doing the thing that you do to have the passion, the drive to succeed.
Yes. And that's actually making my hairs on the back of my neck stand up on that.
So that was the truth. It was you need to only want that one thing and never see yourself doing anything else, because then you will have the hunger and the drive, and you will strive for perfection and land on excellence, because no one will ever be perfect.
Yes.
So I took that in and went, you know what, I don't want that. So my next strain was, what do you do when you're 17, 18, picking your college track, and you've been given such amazing experiences
already in, like, I had actually wrote that down actually, and I'm really sorry to jump in.
Yeah.
Is you'd almost kind of, by the time, I can't find the note, but it's almost like by the time you're 16, you've almost lived a life, had a career, and retired.
My friends say Jordan's the girl with 9 lives. Like, I just have had like a cat. Like, they just keep coming. Meow. Hopefully, yeah. Sorry. Anyway, so
not meow.
I am very meow. I'm very much someone who's had lots of lives. So when I got to that point as well, like, I just like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, where
how do you
go?
move forward? Yes.
And I think there's 2 ways you can. I could keep going, keep pushing, keep working hard, keep using my connections. Probably should have done that. But I always loved the idea of, if I've got all of this stuff, we should give it to other people who want it.
Yes.
So I was fortunate enough to be, super educated with it. Like, all my, diplomas, all my work. By the time I was 16, I was basically licensed to teach.
Yes.
So I said, why wouldn't? Okay, you're going to need a pee halfway through this. I hope you're playing along at home. But by the time I got to the end of 17, 18, going into college, I went, no, I want to teach. Teaching is what I want to do. And I turned to my mom, it's going to be a lot, and said, I think I'm ready to start that process, because I have so much knowledge and so much...
And you, even just speaking, very passionate.
Oh, like, my kids are my world.
Yes.
Like, yes. I am so proud. The new Trolls movie, and there's Velvet and Veneer, who are the okay, so the bad, for those who actually care, there's these Velvet and Veneer are these 2 siblings in the new Troll film, and they steal Troll, spoiler warning, to use their singing ability to make them famous. It's like me and my kids. I'm like, my kids are talented, thus I am talented. No, but I very much was like, I'm very privileged. I understand that. Let me pass that on.
No, I can completely, in all seriousness, I can completely relate.
Yeah, which is kind of what you do. Sorry to throw it on you now, but that's what you kind of do with your charity work, and with what you are exploring now with, your charity work and things like that, is you've been given a platform. How do you use it for good?
Do it for good, and actually, it's kind of along that journey. You might have had kind of similar things. It's almost kind of the same. Similar line. I started a business at 10 years old. Come 19, I'd done so much and travelled so much around the UK and met so many people and stuff. And you kind of, it all feel, in a weird way, it all feels normal. But then you kind of meet people who are like 26, and it's like, oh yeah, I've never made a phone call in my life, and it's like. Yeah. My phone's ringing 20, 30, 40 times a day with people wanting meetings, or I'm having meetings, or I've got to have you've got to do something. You're just sort of naturally used to doing.
Does it make you feel, because I'll bring it back to me in a sec, because I know this isn't me interviewing you, but do you feel that it's made you alienated in people your own age group? because I felt it, particularly going through college and stuff, was I felt that not alienated, but I just struggled to relate to people who weren't young business minds.
Incredibly, very insecure.
Okay.
Almost kind of that extent of kind of, I find it hard to fit it. I'd rather much sit down and have a coffee with someone and like have an in-depth conversation about a new project. Going to the pub and having a pint. Like what? Why? You want me to spend £7 on a pint in a room I don't want to be in a place I can't really hear you talk, and the only thing you talk about is how much you hate your job.
Yeah.
No. And at which point you want to try and fly the nest, but then all those people you used to go to the pub with, they're like, don't forget us, Martin. Don't forget us. Don't think
and you
so.
Never really do.
It's like, no, I just want to live my own life.
Yeah.
I just want to try and achieve what I want.
And you're like me, you're neurodivergent. I've got ADHD and dyslexia.
ADHD, yes. And I don't know if that's an ADHD thing, and I find that quite interesting. With you, when I was growing up, with ITV did a documentary. ITV did a documentary about me when I was 13 about ADHD. And it's like still in that was 13 odd years ago, and that was like a very early days of kind of like ADHD and things like that, and it was almost kind of just seen as a thing. It was just ADHD was a thing for boys. Yeah,
and I'm ADHD girl, and I'm also a thing for girls. But like, ADHD was something that I didn't get diagnosed till really late in the game. I got dyslexia first when I was in second class. Because they go hand in hand.
What type of dyslexia? Literacy or numbers?
No, that's dyscalculia as numbers, so literacy. So I can read, I just can't write. The way I explain it to my kids, because I'm a teacher, is your brain sends text messages to your body telling it what it needs to do.
Yes.
Sometimes there's a radio frequency in your body that scrambles those texts. So my brain is sending a text to my hand on how to write the word cat, but the radio frequency in my body is scrambling that text and it's coming out a bit funky. And then my hand is trying to tell my brain, whenever I'm doing kind of motor skills where I struggle with catching things and things like that, was a lot of it is, and reading as well, is that the text messages are just getting scrambled. And with ADHD, it's actually that your body is sending so many texts that the servers are kind of jamming and you get overstimulated.
Yes.
So that's why we keep our body moving to help bring back some nice flow and some nice energy to help
and
your text
doing
send.
And I'm doing the handy thing as well. It's like it's just kind of almost kind of letting it out. It's like someone agrees with me. Oh my gosh!
But did you find with the business thing that it linked in with your
the pointy finger thing?
Everyone does it. Every neurodivergent person.
I don't know what it is.
It's expelling the energy that would be coming through your brain.
And do you think? Oh my! I'm so sorry. It's almost like.
Do you think?
And I don't know whether it's a case of whether it's an ADHD thing or something simply because of like the weird and wonderful lives we've lived. You spend so long feeling not understood.
Yeah.
That it's like when someone kind of understands you, it's like.
The other thing I was
told.
Yes,
you've got it.
So my singing teacher was also pseudo my therapist. Shout out to Sita. When I tell you, going through school, she was also going through a divorce. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but the two of us would come in and I'd sit down, and she's got her daughters have ADHD and dyslexia, and she was kind of learning all about it. And then I would walk in feeling so confused and not sure why I'm the way I am, and she just would talk to me about it. We'd do about 10 minutes of singing, and then the rest of it was just me trying to figure out what was going on inside my body and why I was feeling the way I am, and that we tend 15, to explain.
How old were you at this point?
16, so I'm about to do my leaving cert.
Okay.
So on my A levels, because in Ireland you do first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth years your secondary school. We don't have college. Our college is our uni.
Oh, okay. I follow. Yes.
So we all do A levels, which is the leaving cert. And it was before I'd been diagnosed. I was going, and then when I was diagnosed, I was going, and now I understand.
It makes
Can you explain
sense
to me more a little bit? And she was saying that we explain ourselves a lot because we feel like we have to justify everything that we do. And I find that kind of came into the business thing for me, and being a young entrepreneur. And like, again, while I was younger and working in the film and TV, I was always interested. I'd get hyper fixated on something.
Yes.
And I wrote a book on like Greek mythology when I had bronchitis for 3 weeks. Or I would, when I got into the influencer world, I was so not interested in. I liked making content, of course. I loved making content.
Yes.
But I loved everything else that would happen. Like when I went to college for theatre, I was more focused on the marketing, the producing, the behind the scenes
how it
mechanics,
all came together,
because it was fast paced and fun. And I think with the whole needing to explain yourself and ADHD thing,
and throwing disclaimers up
everywhere, left, right, and center, because you got to. Because sometimes people don't understand you, but they actually do. We're just worried and anxious that they won't. So I love doing the business side of things because it's all clinical. When you're saying X for Y, shake hand, done. There's no emotion. I don't need to understand your emotions. I don't need to know how your day went that day, really. I don't really mind that you're going through whatever. Mm-hmm. You don't need to know. I don't need to explain who I am to you. I'm selling you a book. You're buying the book. We're happy.
Easy.
You know, and I think that's what I loved about business and why I was really fascinated on if I could do it. Because when I was younger, I was always working for people and learned lots of things about business, puppetry, everything. Don't know why I said puppetry, because I learned puppetry while I was working on set.
Okay.
And that was the thing. What I meant is like working on one thing and picking up other things as you
go. Yes, it's sort of that continuous journey that almost...
hit 20 something. I was like, hey, could I make a coffee brand? So I've built a bunch of businesses. I have a little folder in my Google Drive, which is just like business brain. So I've built like coffee brands with their own marketing schemes and everything. I've done conventions that I've organized and planned. I've done all of these things that just have never come to the physical. I've just kept them in my little Google Drive because I think, could I do it? Like, how hard is it really to I did 2 clothing lines, like two merch launches from my own living room during COVID.
Yes.
I was like, how hard can it be to ship, make, and send out?
Relatively easy.
I made my own website, everything. It was really fun. But I think with ADHD and particularly with mental health, it manifests in different ways.
Yes.
Like ADHD for us manifested in working and being like business, work. We lost a little bit on the social sides, and it was how we channeled our energy when we were younger. So now that we're older and everyone else is on our, doing their things, we're already running a full race. Do you know? And it's tiring as well. Sometimes you want to just sit down and stop.
It's exhausting. But do you find it, if you sit down and stop for 5 minutes, you think, I'm not succeeding at anything?
Yes.
And then you sort of look back. I have it all the time, and you sort of look back, and it's like, Martin, give yourself some credit. Give yourself some credit. It's like you're running a podcast, however many companies you've got, you're arranging meetings, you're traveling all over the place. Just you're actually okay.
But you're doing it to fit in, because we are. Well, maybe you're not, but I found through therapy and stuff that I was doing a lot of this because I felt like I needed to fit in somehow, and people who were cool had businesses. People who were cool were adults. Ooh. People who were cool could do all these things. So why couldn't I? Yeah. And I was not academic. I got into Trinity because I was very, very good at what I did, and they liked that. And I was like,
yes.
Thank you. But I was not very academic. I wasn't very sporty. I wasn't very sure of certain elements of I wasn't very confident in who I was. Okay. I was always thinking, how do I just fit in a situation? What do I have to do to fit in?
How can you mirror someone? Yeah.
So when I started putting fingers in all these pies and doing stuff all the time, it was like trying to make myself someone people would find appealing. Yes. I find that was really fascinating for me. Like being younger, like I couldn't be the best singer, I couldn't be the best dancer, I couldn't be, the best actor, but I could be the prettiest or the skinniest, or I could be like my own little niche that I could be in. Yes. And that kind of spiraled into its own thing. So I think a lot of what I do anyway, or what I try not to do now, but what I did when I was younger was trying to make myself palatable for the normal people. Yes. And if I can't do it academically and I can't do it sport-wise, and I'm really creative, but not everyone likes nerdy things because not everyone's cool. But some people are not really as nerdy as I would be. How can I fit in with these people, Yes, that's quite fascinating. Because you started a business at 13.
That was...
Or 10, was it? When did you...
The first business started when I was 3. Oh. First business started when I was 3, but the one that I had that went on for... Still sort of kind of going on now in something for... 16.
And what's that one? Is that the Airfix models?
The model aircraft and stuff. That's kind of led into running a show and all sorts of things literally around the world.
Yeah. Do you find that you try to do a lot of it yourself, or are you down for outsourcing?
That's a good question. And I think a lot of this actually with kind of like the ADHD side of things, I didn't realise until I say later I'm 20. I didn't realise until I was like 24. Okay. Because I'd started everything at the age of 10. I was sort of 10. So, and I didn't realise I'd created almost like the perfect life for myself. But I'd got so sort of hyper fixated. Mm-hmm. Other things like dating, relationships, or kind of friends or other things.
Yeah.
I'd never, because I'd literally just spent my whole life with kind of tunnel vision. And in kind of like a weird way, I only thought of like this the other day. It's like a lot of people who are my friends are kind of in their 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
So I was almost kind of like living the life of an 80-year-old at 24. So I'd kind of amassed property, I had rental properties, I had basically kind of retired.
Yeah.
Before I was 25. And I realised actually, I realised I'd sort of retired by 25, and then I had nothing to stimulate my brain.
Because you have ADHD and you need stimulation.
And as soon as that happened, that was when I learnt the most about myself. I learnt the most about myself, and it was like the hardest point of my life ever. Yeah. Ever. Living with this. And people, I say living with kind of that constant, I've got to be doing something, but you don't know what to do because...
The constant need to prove yourself to yourself.
And
you'd rather be busy than bored, but boredom is worse than being busy.
Yeah, I'd rather be busy. I'd 18-hour days.
I'd happy out. I had a similar experience with that world clicking into place and then realising, I'm
not normal.
I went through that. I got diagnosed pretty young with the ADHD thing, but I think for me it was that originally I wanted to do equine breeding and horse management.
Yes.
Right? I was a horse girl. In fourth year, I'm obsessed with the idea of genetics and how because I was like, I'm different. Mad that with racehorses, if you make something a little different, they're worth like a couple of $100,000 to a couple of million, depending on how different you make them.
Yes.
So I was like, that's really interesting about how breeding and nature versus nurture. And I was really into it, but I thought, well, my whole family are in the arts. I'll stay in the arts. I'll stay where it's safe.
Stay on your track.
Yeah. And I got to college, and I remember in second year, going through second year slump is what we call it. But for me, like so second year of university, going through a second year slump and sitting with my lecturer being like, I'm going to drop out. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm so done. Because I had started with my mum and started training and doing, like, I went to Boston, I was in the Young Performers Academy, I was College of Dance. So by the time I'd gotten to college, I had learnt about data, I'd learnt about surrealism, I'd learnt about all this stuff. So I'm sitting in lectures going, I know this. Yes. I understand this, and I don't like this, but I know it. So why am I here? Do you know? And then I kind of go, well, actually, now that I have time on my hands, because I have to write a 2,000-word essay, but I could do it in 20 minutes because I know what I'm talking about because I've done it before. What else can I think about? Oh, myself and what I went through growing up and how that really affected me. Oh, I should probably go see someone about this. Good plan. Because I did, being young, I don't know about you, but I did a lot of self-reflection, self-therapy. Yes. I was like, I don't want this burden to be on anyone else.
If something went wrong, is on, and if something goes wrong, even if it's someone, if you were doing something, I'd say, Jordan, would you mind doing this? And it went wrong.
You put it on yourself.
I'd put it on myself because I think I was the person who trusted. I was the person Absolutely. Who instigated that. So. But I think that's a good place because then that takes you get so many people that goes, oh, it's not my fault, and it's like, actually, it is your fault, and it's like, no, it's someone.
But do you feel bad because you instigated for them to do it, or because you could have done it better, and then they wouldn't have to have dealt with it? Good question. And with this, I can touch on with business, yeah. Or if I was selling something, and someone would get it and go, Martin, I'm not happy with the item. The genuine amount of shame, and I'd always overthink. So I got this massive reputation for using too much bubble wrap and too much packaging tape. Because in my head, I thought, well, the parcel can go through the post, and if it got squashed, it would burst that corner and the contents would come out. And I want the bubble wrap around the item because I want it. Yeah. I want it arrive. I want it to be good enough in my head because in my head, if it's not good enough, it will weigh on. I can't do anything else because it just simply weighs on my mind so much. So much. Well, you talking about that, it's kind of like how ADHD people, I feel like this is just the ADHD in business podcast.
Yes.
But like how we bubble wrap ourselves because we want us to arrive to wherever it is, great, perfect, brilliant condition.
Yes.
But actually a bit of character is that little scratch here and there that we have, but we're just scared for people to get it or see it.
That's it.
Are you looking for a stain?
With the Mean Girls pink wristband and the grey socks and all sorts of mess. It's just, oh well, it'll be it'll be fine. So I think kind of like we spoke a lot with kind of ADHD and kind of putting it all into a bubble. 2 questions.
Okay, hit me.
Would you say ADHD is a superpower?
Yes.
Yes. And would you rather have ADHD than not have ADHD?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that there's anything now. Again, if someone turned around to me and said, Jordan, would you redo your life? And like, I've been through some shoot. Like, as much as I've said that I've had a great experience growing up, I've also been through a lot of like traumatic things and a lot of things that like have really molded me who I am today. And I would 100% go through it all again. And people think that's crazy. Would you not do something differently? I said, no. All the bad boyfriends, all the fights, all the crazy nights where I'm lost and I don't know how to get home and I'm crying, all the like, you know, journey with my mental health and everything that I went through in that regards, I would go through again in a heartbeat, because who I am right now is a version of me that would not be here if it wasn't for what I went through.
Yes.
And ADHD and dyslexia and all those things and your mental health journey is part of that. And I don't think ADHD is easy. I don't think it's something that you should go, oh, I really wish I had ADHD. Like,
a lot of people think it's trendy.
It is difficult to be an alien in your own body, let alone an alien in society, because you don't understand what's going on. There's a little motor. It's not just that I want to get up and walk around. It's that I keep hitting, as my doctor says, I don't have a train of thought. I just keep hitting walls of things.
Yes.
I just go wall, and it is exhausting. The world around me runs so fast. I need it to slow down. And I think it is a superpower in the regards I can hyperfocus.
Yeah.
I can, you know, utilize my creativity. I've got an endless supply of energy that crashes for about 4 hours and then gets back up. Things like that are amazing.
Resilience.
But would I prefer to not have it? No, I think it really makes me who I am.
Yes.
I did try the drugs. I did try the Tyvenes to try kind of chill that out, and lexandephetamines is what I was on, which is lisdexamphetamines, which is a type of combination. It's one step away from speed. So I was taking it. It was prescribed, of course, and it was meant to make me know what it feels like to be normal or to be neurodivergent.
Can we just...
Yeah?
That, just a touch with normal. If people say, oh, try this medication because it will make you normal, or make you normal.
That's how we have negative connotations of mental health.
In terms of medication with ADHD or medication with ADHD, or people saying you should be normal or try this, it will make you normal.
Yeah. Well, it's the stigmatism around things that we put on with our terminology and how we approach things. Like if I like something or if I don't like something, how we use our tone, how we use our voice, how we talk around something, that will instigate how us as a society view that thing. So if we look at a plant, we all love plants. We're like plant babies. We love them. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
But if we started using negative words, or we say normal to insinuate that it's not normal or that it's different, you are putting a negative connotation. If we just said, hey, it'll make you feel a little bit more calm, it'll help you deal with the symptoms, I would have been like, okay, cool, that's fine.
Yes.
And I took those drugs. I took them for a while. I stopped taking those drugs. I found that it was like I was it would hyper-focus me. I'd be like an absolute machine. The things I could get done, my focus and everything, but I really just lost my sparkle. I'm a sparkly person.
You're fabulous.
And it was just gone, and I felt that I'd spent so much of my life managing it myself. If I was younger and they put me on the medication younger, and I've seen it in kids because I teach, and I've seen it in my students where they're medicated at a much younger age, I probably wouldn't be able to be off my meds now at 24 because I'm not reliant on them. You know,
you are living. Yes, you're living who you are.
I am.
I
wish there was times in my life where I could turn it off and just be in bed when I wake up in the middle of the night after a nightmare and just lie there and not have thoughts running through my head like a mad thing. Yes. Or when I have a conversation with someone and then I 3 days later think back on it and I start going crazy and I get a little of anxiety and stuff. But I do sometimes wish that, like, when I go into an exam, I could just switch it off and I could sit down, and when I'm writing emails at work in my office and there's a buzz from a plug in the room, I wish I could just switch it off so I could focus on what I'm doing and that doesn't get my attention. But I think the journey I've been on has brought me to a place where I wouldn't want to be anyone else. Do you know?
And would you say with the journey you've been on, you sitting here looking cute and fabulous on the lovely sofa and everything?
Thanks.
people are surprised by that, or people wouldn't expect?
People don't expect me to have the journey that I've had. And I'm going to spill some tea that I was working at a convention in Dublin, and I sat down with the guys who run the social media team. We were out for drinks. And I was just talking about like the fact that like I'm 24, just bought a house, I work a full-time job. I'm I think 2 years out of hospital now. I had a really bad stint in hospital because I was very sick. I'm very self-sufficient, all that kind of stuff. And I was saying how like in school, I went through a lot of stuff with mental health. I had friends who were very, my friend group weren't very great. They were amazing people, but we just were in a circumstance and in a world where we weren't mature enough to understand what we were getting up to and what we were doing.
I understand.
So I'd been through kind of rough stuff like that while also working as a child, while also being in full training, while also doing school. So I say, I've got quite a crazy life. And he looked at me and said, it's crazy that you're more than just a pretty face. And I went, you just, like, as a cosplayer, he's like, I'm surprised that you've got a personality. It's kind of intimidating. This is a man, by the way, who, like, runs a social media team. And I remember sitting there going, I'm a person. My cosplay and my social media is a external thing that I was hyperfixated on and was like, this is a cool project I can work on. But, like,
Jordan, I think that's a really valuable... How can we address that? How can we kind of touch on that? If you is something that the pretty face, or they think you've got, or you've got this, or you've achieved. I'd like to think I've got a pretty face. It's sort of kind of you've lived a life and you've done a lot in your life, or you.
People are surprised that some people are different to them.
Yes.
Meeting you and talking to you has been fascinating. And today I think we've only touched a tiny little droplet so far.
Lord.
Because we had a whole plan. We were like, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get through all of this. We'll talk about like business and like mental health and theatre and cosplay and social media. And I've been like, no. Let's just talk about being nerd versions like for a second. But I think people are, when you are like you are, where you worked from very young, same here, you working young and had a really, really big work drive, people forget that there are people like us out there who are real. So when I sit down and I meet someone who's never had a job at 24 and has never had to live independently from their family or never had to do anything like that, I kind of go, well, that's crazy. You don't have like, I don't know, guilt when you don't work?
You've not, you don't,
But it's because we're conditioned, I think, particularly us. Not everyone, we're all different.
Disclaimer.
But we're particularly, always a disclaimer, we're particularly conditioned that we have to keep working and we have to do stuff.
Yes.
We have to be active. We have to be members of society. We have to be successful to make up for where we lack in other, I have to be successful to make up for the places where I lack, like I can't read or write. I can't do a lot of things academically, or which other people socially can do, or I'm not great with social cues. I'm not great at understanding emotions. I'm not great at a lot of things like that just come from being a different child. So, and being raised differently. But I make up for that by being super interesting and doing all these things and being super active. So someone else who is great at like the social side of things, the social norms, understanding emotions, someone who's great academically and, has a business degree and does their computer science job, like one of those kind of people that you meet, it is fascinating because they are everything that I want to be, but also everything I don't want to be.
You don't want to be, yes.
Like I want their skill sets. I want to be able to feel how they feel. I want to be able to walk into a room full of people and not freak out with my anxiety. I want to be able to write an email to my grandparent and not have to read it 6 times to make sure I didn't spell something inappropriately.
Oh, that's incredible. You can send an email just after 6 times. You end up with a whole list of
things that you're like, oh my God. Or I want to be able to have a list that I don't have to write out 4 times to make sure I do. Or I have a Gremlin app on my phone called the Goblin app, which is a Goblin tool. It's £1 to buy and it makes lists for you. You put what you want to do for the day and then it will make an itemized AI to make you an exact breakdown of how your day needs to go so that you can get stuff done. I want to live my life not worried about that. I want to live my life being able to sit at a desk and do a task and not feel like I have to do everything else in the world. And also I want to feel like I don't have to fight every day just to walk out in the room and not feel overstimulated.
Yes.
But at the same time, I love the fact that I'm creative and quirky and different. I love the fact that I walk into my room with my kids and we have the most magical hour because I just switch on my little creative brain and we have the most amazing conversations and we spend time together and they learn so much. in a creative space and in a creative way. I love the fact that like I can go home and sew an outfit, having never done a sewing class in my life. I can paint a wall. I can do a mural. I can do all these I can plan these businesses. I can, you know, do charity work.
Yes.
And never seem to run out of steam.
It kind of carries on.
There are positives and negatives.
Positive and negatives. Yes. Yes. Okay.
Would you change?
That's a great question. Would I? No. No. But I get cross. I do get cross with. I think the thing is it gives kind of that element of relatability, and relatability, and I think it's because you're always kind of doing something different, or you're always on a different project or a different task, but at the same time, in a weird, and I think a lot of people don't understand me, or a lot of that. I think I see the world in pictures. So if I want to complete a task, I can see all the steps that need to be done. I always work backwards. So it's like a case of, okay, I want to do that. Let's say an air show. I want to run an air show.
Okay,
I want to run an air show. Okay, for an air show I need aeroplanes.
Okay.
Or for an air show I need an area for the aeroplanes to fly in. Okay, I'll find an area where I can fly.
Okay.
Aeroplanes, and then from that you kind of work backwards. Okay, I've got a venue, or I've got that. Okay, I've got pilots, I've got planes. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, work backwards. Okay, I need to communicate. I need walkie-talkies. I need food. I need trade. I need all of those. You've got one task, but there's 100 little subcategories.
Exactly.
And I love that because when you get bored of one, you can jump into another one. You can jump back to another one. But I think at the same time where you've done all those like different tasks, you've almost you've done in one task you've done 100 jobs.
Yeah.
You've been the accountant, the secretary, the PA. You've done the network. You've liaised. You've done the organisation. You've done the booking. You've done whatever you might have had. You put all these different hats on. So then you kind of like people. I say people ask you for advice, or you see someone doing it, or like with children. It's like I might be young, but I can relate.
Yeah.
Kind of like this is the journey I've been on. Just do this little bit and piece to help you along the way. So in short, would I change? No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. And when people don't see the background work, or they don't know the past, sometimes you want to explain, but then other times it's just easier not to.
I'm going to bring it back to my kids now, because I feel like this is going to sound crazy.
Yes, bring it back to your kids.
I always tell my kids they shouldn't want to change. And they shouldn't want anything to be different about themselves. They shouldn't want to be like anyone else, just be themselves, which is really funny and kind of ironic, because like I've been through a lot of stuff where I've tried to change myself and I've had issues and things like that in the past. But with my students, it's often the parents who are most keen to see their child fit into society in a way that they think will work. Yes. And I've had a lot of conversations with parents about, my daughter, she's got ADHD, but we haven't told her yet, and we're trying to figure out ways around it. And I'm like, why haven't you told her? Oh, well, we just don't want her to feel different, And I'm like, I have ADHD. And they look at me and go, you've got what? I said, I've got ADHD, I've got dyslexia, I've got social anxiety, and I've got a degree, I've bought a house, and I'm successful. It's not a debilitating disease. It's not going to hurt your child. You just have to let them, and you get frustrated because the parent is the one who's going, my kid's a bit different. And then they come into my classroom and they're the most normal child you'll ever meet, because in my classroom, we're all weird. Like, I have the gayest, most neurodivergent, most insane group of kids that I see, and I would have them no other way. And if you turn around to me and said, hey, now you could stop there, I know where they're going. I've been on my own journey. You've been on your journey. I know where their life's going to lead. I know what it's going to be like.
That's just almost kind
they
of
go,
support.
would you change it? Because a lot of parents would say, no, I would instantly make it easier for my child. I don't know, because I'm looking at a room of people who are going to have the most amazing lives.
They just need to work.
They just are in the work, and they just need to get through it. But because I have.
Yes.
And a lot of parents be quick to be like, let's fix. And I'm going, no, let's not fix. Let's nurture and help them find the solutions when they need them. and it's where I kind of stand very differently to a lot of the parents that I meet, is that as their teacher, I'm going, do not change your child. Let your child grow and nurture them, because even the weirdest little plant who looks like he's going to have a rough time growing, with the right soil and the right nutrients, can become the best plant in your garden. You just have to be willing to allow it go on its own journey. And there'll be times where you're going to have to fix things and trim things, and it'll get sick and you'll have to figure out how to help it. But just going, oh, let's get a different plant, or let's try change this plant, or treat it like one of the other, it's never going to work, you know? I love plants. I don't own a single plant, but I have a lot of metaphors that revolve around plants.
I like that. And looking back on that, I can touch on my, if it with the question I was about to, sort of kind of when you were going up through school, was there any ever times like when someone would say, in terms of kind of the world of ADHD or whatever, was there any times where people would say something or put a label upon you that almost kind of in a way, it still kind of eats away in the back of your head, almost kind of one that, not living up, I wouldn't say living up to constantly disprove, but one you sometimes think, not I've proved you wrong, but sort of...
Not really, because I think my friend group, there would have been things said, or like, I would have put my own labels on myself. I'm very fortunate with my parents, who are really supportive.
Oh, okay.
In ways, I mean, they are interesting people, and they are very fabulous, and I've got a fabulous support network at home. Me and my brother are best friends. He came out when he was very young, and we have just, like, as a nucleus family,
yes,
we are very, now we fight like cats and dogs. We are so combative. We don't get along sometimes we are in perfect harmony. Most days we are all out of sync. We're just a weird family, but they've always been super supportive. And when I got sick in 2020, they dropped everything and were like, yep, we'll fix it, it's gonna be fine.
Okay.
But growing up, I moved schools in 4th year, so in transition year.
Did you move schools a lot, or
not really? So I was in the same primary school, and then I got to secondary school, and I ran around with a crowd that were lovely, and I mean, they're lovely, but it wasn't what I needed for my own personal growth.
Yes.
I wasn't good at academics, so my kind of thing was like, school was something I had to do. I hated it. It's a prison. Like, let's be rebellious, let's fight against the system. I've been working as a child actor in the summers.
Oh wait,
I'm so
was
used
that
to
your
structures
mind?
and rules.
You were going almost kind of not rebelling.
I was a little rebel. Like real rebel, like rebel without a cause at all.
And
there was no need
change?
for it. Yeah. In 4th year, I think I didn't get diagnosed with ADHD, and what was happening was I was just being myself, my little bubbly self, and they were going, yes, you're bold, and I was going, I'm not bold, I'm just a bit different.
I'm just a little child.
And I just was running around with people who were also kind of bold, and they were also a bit different, and they probably had ADHD as well. So I was in a little kind of
circle
of chaotic bunions. So in 4th year, I kind of realized that my behavior affects other people, and I instilled this in my kids.
But did you know that at the time?
When I was in 4th year, but at the time of doing it, I didn't care. I wasn't aware, because for me, tunnel vision, I'm not aware about anyone else. I'm just like, I want to climb this wall. That's what I'm going to do. Like, I didn't have impulse control. But where my friends did have impulse control, I had no impulse control. So my friends would do something dumb, and I'd be like, nah, I want to do the same thing, but worse, because that kind of no impulse control. And then when I got to 4th year, I realized, oh my gosh, my lack of impulse control and lack of aware of social situations has caused other kids to struggle. And because I know I'm not academic, and I in my own head will never amount to anything, I've thrown my chance of doing anything academic out the window. So I don't care. So I just mess around in class. But there are kids in that class who are not creative. Because my parents have said, Jordan, you are creative, you are talented, you are going to succeed. You won't succeed in the academic sense, but you'll be a business owner. You will work hard. You will be your own person. What you do in school and what you do in college does not matter. What matters is you become a person who you would like to spend time with, who you think is going to be successful.
Yes.
So I took that in my head and said, yeah, I can do whatever I want. Yes. My parents support me. So I then forgot that there were other kids in the class who need the academia, and that's where they're going to succeed. Okay. So when I moved schools, I left that whole behind. Like I went from a mixed school to a single sex school. And I went to a very posh single sex school in Dublin, Alexandra College, shout out. But I went from a kind of more party-based, fun, crazy social life, constantly running around and doing things I probably shouldn't be doing at 15, like mad, to being like, I want to get into Trinity, which I was told.
That was your mind. You then changed to that.
I said, I want to good points. Just because I'm dyslexic and I've got struggling with academics does not mean that I cannot succeed academically.
And like, you wanted to do
and
it.
I
You
wanted
set
to do
that
that
goal.
because my guidance counselor said, "Oh, you want to go to Trinity? You need a lot of points." And I said, "Watch me, bitch, get into this college course." I was kind of like, you know what? Just because people say that you're ADHD or dyslexia, you're not going to be great academically, does not mean that I can't be the best version of me.
It's almost you will keep on going.
Yeah.
And maybe that's kind of where the ADHD or that resilience kind of comes from.
It kicks in.
You might get, but I'll find that. And I will find. I'll
do it.
Yeah, you'll do it. You'll find.
And I instill that in all of my kids and all of my students is that, you know, just because it's not for you, if you don't like dancing, okay, like we're in a performing arts school, you don't like dancing, that's not your strong suit. You don't have to be the next Tate McRae. You don't have to be the next Maddie, you know, Ziegler. You can just be the best version of you doing the best that you can.
Yes.
If you can't do, which is funny and ironic because I always want to be the best at what I do, but you know, if you are, what I say is, if you are the best at something in the world, if you are the best, no one else can defeat you. You are top dog. Why are you in that industry? Because being in an industry or doing anything in life is about progress and growing and growth. So if you are top dog, if you are the best carpet maker in the world and no one else can make carpets like you, try build a rug. Try do something else, because the joy of life is learning from others, and that's why I'm a teacher.
I like that. Okay, I won't have any more water, but kind of touching on that with kind of with that, or kind of when you're in a room for people kind of with ADHD or people with ADHD or people who are maybe they're sort of kind of stuck in an old friendship group, or they're wanting to where you were saying. If you're in, there's that saying, if you're the most interesting person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Exactly.
And what would be potentially your advice, or how could one possibly find a room where they could maybe learn or inspire?
Well, when you're in school,
volunteering.
I say to my kids,
yes,
you're friends with your friends in school because you're forced to sit at a desk with them for 8 hours a day.
Yes.
And that you are lucky to be in a district where you all go to the same school. You will get to college, you will meet people who are interested in you. You will find your own niche in life, in time. There is an awful long time to be an adult. Don't try to be an adult now. But if you are an adult and you're finding that you're struggling in the room that you're in,
yes,
look at what inspires you. So like if you're in a room and I go, you know, if I'm in a room of people who are not like me, I think, well, where did I get my interest from? And I go back to the source and I go and find another room.
Okay.
I don't ever say cut off a room, always be nice to everyone and love everyone, yada yada.
Yes.
But I did
never
find,
know when you might have to
my dad always
room.
said, you know, or people have always said, you know, you're a Ferrari in a room of Fords. Find someone who can run the race with you. And it is looking and it is finding. And, you know, I've got a really good friend of mine. He's just working, he works in HR now, and he also runs a personal fitness, personal training thing.
Yes.
So he's just discovering busy life and doing multiple things and juggling a lot of balls.
Yes.
And he always looks at me and goes, Jordan, how did you do this? And I said, it's resilience and also time. We sped run it because we started a lot younger. People starting now will get to that level in a couple of years, you know, and it's sacrifices. But I think if you're trying to find people who are in your same, who will be similar to you or run in the same circles as you, is just run the race. If you start running and you go, right, okay, guys, I love you all, but I'm going to go and take this evening. I can't do dinner tonight. I've got to go work on my air show, right? By running your race of just driving a car in the air to get to the air show, you'll suddenly start meeting people who are also in the same direction as you.
Yes.
So you got to take the leap to jump out of the nest, because the nest is your comfort zone and they are still always will be your comfort zone. But once you start flying, you'll find all the other birds in the air and go, why wasn't I flying before? And then your friends will see you and go, oh, I can fly too, and then they'll start flying, and it's going to be an awesome little fly fast.
And with that, that can almost kind of be broken down to kind of any level. I was talking to a girl a little while back.
Congratulations!
Oh, thank you, Jordan. It's quite a rare feat. I was talking to a girl a little while back, not in that in sense, but I found her journey interesting. Kind of went to school and kind of had it very much kind of in her head that the school system failed her, social anxiety and various different things, almost kind of to the extent of mid-20s, and had never kind of gone to a cafe kind of on her own to get a coffee because school treated her so bad. And her whole kind of objective was to shut the school down, or to showcase how bad this school was, because it kind of ruined her life.
Yeah.
And I said to her, with this, it's like, set your energy to something good. because you can go about and you can spend the rest of your life, and probably eventually there's a possibility you can get that school shut down. But what do you do then?
Yeah.
How do you move on from that?
Yeah.
So it's like, why don't you be that example?
Your energy could be put towards something else, do you know?
Use yourself as that example. You were that kid who got bullied and struggled, and kind of leading on to that, it was like, I just said to her, just go to the cafe and ask for a latte. That is the first. It's not. There's bigger jumps, but all it takes is everything really requires you walking out of your door.
Yeah.
Go to that cafe.
Have a coffee.
And work. Build
or a
on.
tea.
Or a tea. Whatever. We're not here to judge. Or orange juice or something. Just go out there and order a cup. And from that you can build on it. I describe when people say, "Oh, I can't do this. Life's like a game of snakes and ladders."
Yeah.
You go along the board.
Some things bring you down.
You can go up the ladder. You can have a massive confidence boost, and then you'll hit that snake, the slippery, slimy snake, and away back down you come. But you just gotta carry on playing the game.
And I think I've really enjoyed my journey with that and my experiences with that, because again, like getting through college, graduated college, what's next? Work full time, cool. During college, picked up the social media thing. Was really interested in it. I thought it was really fun. It was really cool. It's how I've met a lot of my favorite people.
Yes.
And then, experienced the world of social media and also had underlying things that I hadn't been dealing with. Like I had really bad problems with food.
Yes.
Really bad ED, trigger warning. Because I'm very open about talking about like my mental health journey.
Yes.
So I've always had a bit of an issue with an ED from being quite young to when I was about 21.
Yes.
And going through that was a wild experience because social media just highlighted it for me.
Yes.
And it brought it up in a way that like almost ruined social media for me. I ended up 6 months, I think it was 3 months inpatient, 3 months outpatient program, like had to go to hospital.
Simply through social media?
Yeah, so I stopped going to, if you look at Jordan's account, you'll go, where did she go for a year?
I just scroll down to the horse photo.
Yeah, you're like, where's the horse? No, but I did loads of stuff and then I hit like a wall.
Yeah.
You and that bloody horse. Anyway, but I went through like all this kind of stuff and then I went through my really bad, like I had really bad problems with ED, really bad bulimia, really, really ill. Parents are like, right, off you go, get better. We'll see you. And it was during COVID, so you couldn't have visitation or anything. Okay. So, and then I went on a home program. I was in hospital once a week. I was doing all this kind of stuff. I was going through treatment. And then I came back to social media and realised that I didn't love it as much as I wanted to.
Yes.
Same as the acting thing, where the social media didn't make me sick. I always had something going on where like I always had, well, I wouldn't say sick. That's the wrong terminology. The social media wasn't the cause of whatever I was going through. Yeah, yes. It wasn't the cause of revealing this kind of thing that was going on inside of me. It was a trigger that allowed me to address it. I think if I hadn't gone through all of that, I would have probably just gone, hey, I broke my foot, so I couldn't do a lot of things. I would have gone, hey, I'm fine. I just work a lot, which is why I don't have a healthy eating pattern, which is why I've got
to be up early, that's why I skip breakfast.
Yeah, that's why, I just have a busy life. But all of a sudden doing the social media thing, I was like, oh, I've got to film videos. And I was like, well, I don't. But I was like, oh, I've got nothing to do in COVID. I've got to do the social media thing. But I could visually see the deterioration of myself.
Okay.
So I went through treatment and then I came out the other side and I had two options. And a lot of people in my program, we always talked about what life is like outside. What's it like after school? What's it like after hospital? What's it like after treatment?
Yeah. What are you doing now? Or you've done...
What is the future? And I had a choice. I could go back and stay in my room and just be like, I was sick, I was struggling, I'm still struggling, blah, blah, blah. Or I could go... Yup-dee. And I would go, shenay, shenay, that's what happened. You got to keep going. It's an Irish, shenay, shenay is an Irish saying. Sorry.
Oh, shenay, shenay.
Shenay, shenay. That's it. That's all. Shenay, shenay. So, because shenay, shenay, let's go. And I did that. And like, it's why now I look back at who I am now and I look back at when I was there. And I go, it's so crazy to me that was someone I was going through all that.
Yes.
Because I left, I went to get the coffee. I started going and having lunches and dinners with my friends where I would never eat in front of people.
Oh, wow.
It's like, let's go have dinner. And I was going, oh God, Jesus Christ. And I just put myself in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, and almost feels good.
Which feels good. Now, I went on a cruise for 10 days. I did nothing. I normally go to the gym. I'm quite active. I did nothing for two weeks.
Yes.
All I did was eat 5-star food. I had all-you-can-eat buffet. I was eating 4 meals a day, including snacks. I was living. And I was thinking, it's mad how I didn't do this for like 10 years of my life.
Yes.
You're like, this is wild. I forgot how good and joyful food was. It's the same with my anxiety. Now I'm putting myself out there. My friend Emily Bradley, they're a comedian in Dublin, and they're very good. I would say they're one of my best friends. I was going through a breakup, and she looked at me and said, "You should date yourself." I said, "What the fuck does that mean?" I mean, what? She goes, "You should date yourself. Take yourself to the movies.
It's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, take yourself to the movies. Take yourself for dinner. Go put on your headphones, take yourself to a bookshop or a library and have a library date with yourself. Take yourself out, dress yourself up nice, go down to your local that you really like, the local, food that you love, your restaurant. Put on your headphones, stick Netflix on in front of you and have a gourmet dinner with Netflix. Go and treat yourself. Go on that hike that you really wanted to go. Do the escape room on your own.
Yes.
Go and play video games in the evening. Go and date yourself so that you can fall in love with yourself.
And you also get to kind of know who you
Exactly.
Get to know.
And I'm suddenly realising the joys. It really helped with my anxiety. Was learning to date myself helped with my anxiety, which is wild to think, because all of a sudden I was comfortable with being with me.
Yeah.
Where normally I felt like I need to have someone to talk to. I need to have something going on. I was comfortable. And sometimes you see me in Dublin, like in Dundrum, which is our shopping centre, in Wagamama's, just headphones on, Studio Ghibli film on, eating noodles. At least once a week I take myself out to dinner. And it is expensive to do, but there are ways that you can date yourself. Like I do little care baskets for myself, or I'll do craft nights on my own, where I just take the time where my phone is gone and it's just
turn
me.
That phone off.
And I think it's the same with food now. Like I cook, I love to cook. And cooking is a huge thing for me, where cooking is my therapy, and I eat and I sit with myself and I have food, and I sit with my friends and I have food, where I would have never done that in the past. So there's a joy to learning about who you are that you can only really develop from spending time with who you are. Because if you expect to date someone else, you can't love. What is the thing RuPaul says? RuPaul says, how do you expect to love someone else when you can't even love yourself? Yes. If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? Can I get an amen? And we all go, amen.
Amen. If
you can't date yourself and be comfortable in your own presence, how do you then be who you truly are with other people?
I like that. And I think actually that point I thought the time has whizzed by, but that really wraps it up really quite beautifully, Jordan, with sort of just kind of that, you've just kind of got to learn. And that can apply to anyone, sort of kind of apply.
Learn to love yourself, which is really hard. It's easy to say, hard to do.
Sounds a bit kind of cliche, but it's true.
It really is, but it's very true. And I'm very much someone who, because I'm a teacher, when I work with my kids, that's what I instill in them, because I'm someone who I would never want any of them to go through the life I had, because I would never wish that on someone else.
I like that.
But I want them to know that when they look at their teacher, who they admire, I mean, my Christmas presents I get for my kids, I love. They give me the most amazing handmade gifts and stuff. But I want them to look at someone, and when they admire that person, and when they look at someone who they have as a role model, who has been through a lot, has not done the conventional track of academia and stuff, who's been creatively living through her life, who loves herself and loves time with herself and loves who she is. Yes. And I want them to look at someone like that and thrive and strive to be like that. Because then you have a cohort of kids who in 10 years are going to be little versions of me, who are going to be so confident and so happy. Little inspiration. Because again, if you don't nurture that little plant, if you don't nurture yourself, and you look after your own, you're sowing your own seeds to your future. Yes. If you're not looking after yourself, when someone looks at you and they want to be like you, and you go, well, actually, I hate everything about me. Be the role model that you want that you wanted as a kid, and that's what I do now.
Be the role model that you want to be. I love that, Jordan. Love that, and thank you so much for coming on.
No, thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. I think this.
I talk a lot. I could talk for ages.
You certainly can, Jordan.
Sorry,
but not in a bad way. I think it's quite beautiful. I think what we've really is like showcased.
The podcast. This episode title should be the neurodivergent.
Neurodivergent,
or like the ADHD episode.
I think people might look on. If anyone's made it this far on the podcast, I think that might have gone off a little off track. We didn't go to the question. That what you've seen in an hour is what we go through every single day of every single hour, and every single hour of the day, every single day of the year, and every single day of the year that we have lived on this life. This is what our brains are always like.
And do you know what? It's a beautiful brain, and I don't want any other fucking brain. I like to keep my brain.